On Sunday, December 14th, Santa Monica hotel staff opened the door to a disturbing scene. A guest checked into the room at 4 in the morning. By the time staff arrived, the windows were completely blacked out with bedsheets, and the interior of the room was violently covered in blood. The man who rented that room with his credit card was 32-year-old Nick Reiner. He is the son of Rob and Michele Reiner, two deeply beloved figures in Hollywood, known for building a tight-knit family and creating some of the most iconic comedies of the 20th century. 11 hours after Nick checked into that blood-stained hotel room, police were called to his parents' estate in the exclusive gated neighborhood of Brentwood. Inside, they found both Rob and Michele dead from severe stab wounds. The Reiner family had virtually unlimited financial resources, access to the best medical care in the world, and a well-documented history of intense parental devotion. Yet none of those protective barriers could prevent a horrific double homicide inside their own home. To understand how this happened, investigators had to retrace the previous 24 hours. The timeline begins Saturday night at a holiday party hosted by comedian Conan O'Brien. Guests noticed Nick acting strangely. He was wandering the room in a hoodie, staring blankly at attendees, and repeatedly asking people if they were famous. The tension escalated when Nick interrupted a private conversation and stood silently staring at the guests. This led to a highly public shouting match between Rob and Nick, with Rob reprimanding his son for inappropriate behavior. Shortly after, the family left the party early. This map shows the rapid sequence of events that followed. After leaving the West Los Angeles party, there's a gap in the timeline until Nick checks into the Santa Monica hotel at 4 a.m. At 3:30 p.m., his sister Romy discovers their parents' bodies back at the Brentwood estate. Finally, at 9:15 p.m., police surround Nick 14 miles away near Exposition Park, arresting him without a struggle at a gas station. The geography of these final 24 hours links Nick to the crime scene and the bloodied hotel room in under 12 hours. Investigators turned to the family's medical and legal history to determine why the situation escalated so quickly. The medical examiner reported that Rob and Michele died from multiple sharp force injuries. In forensic pathology, knife violence is up close and personal. It requires the perpetrator to close the physical distance and expend a massive, sustained amount of physical energy and rage. The suspect had a deeply complicated psychiatric profile. Nick suffered from a severe dual diagnosis, battling mental illness and intense chemical dependency. He had been to rehab roughly 18 times by his late teens, struggling with heroin and cocaine addiction, and enduring periods of homelessness across several states. This logic tree maps an LPS conservatorship used by the Reiners in 2020. It links grave disability to involuntary medication rights, allowing a guardian to administer medication against the patient's will. Nick's expired in 2021, reverting medical control entirely back to him. This created a significant blind spot. By late 2025, Nick was a severely ill man living inside his parents' guest house, actively struggling with his mental health, but entirely free from the mandated medical oversight that had previously kept his condition in check. By November 2025, the family tried a new intervention, placing Nick in a specialized $70,000 a month psychiatric facility. There, doctors determined his condition had escalated, diagnosing him with schizoaffective disorder, a severe condition combining the psychotic symptoms of schizophrenia with mood disorders like depression or mania. The forensic investigation has since uncovered a critical detail from this facility. Just 3 to 4 weeks before the murders, doctors altered Nick's psychiatric medications. Almost immediately, sources close to the family reported that the new drug regimen wasn't working. Instead of stabilizing him, the adjustment caused him to exhibit highly erratic behavior, with one source stating the medication made him crazy. This loop illustrates akathisia, a severe adverse reaction to certain antipsychotic medications. Patients experience intense chemical agitation, rapidly leading to hostility and impulsive aggression. These symptoms, paranoid behavior and extreme physical energy, match the clinical profile of a patient reacting to a medication change. This leaves investigators confronting a central forensic question. Was the double homicide an act of premeditative familial rage, Or was it a state of involuntary psychosis triggered by the very medicine prescribed to treat him? During his arraignment, Nick appeared in court wearing a brown jail uniform, his head shaved, displaying a wide-eyed, unmoored expression. He pled not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. Notably, his high-powered private defense attorney abruptly withdrew from the case right as the proceedings began, handing his defense over to the public defender's office. Based on his extensive psychiatric history, legal experts anticipate the defense will argue not guilty by reason of insanity or potentially claim involuntary intoxication. They will argue that the recent medication switch completely stripped Nick of his ability to understand right from wrong at the time of the killings. The prosecution, however, will point to his actions after the crime as proof of executive function. A man in a state of total, unthinking psychosis does not typically navigate 14 miles across Los Angeles, use a credit card to secure a hotel room, and purchase a drink at a gas station. This scale visualizes the pending legal battle, which currently hinges on a pending toxicology report. If the blood work shows Nick was under the influence of illicit drugs, like cocaine or methamphetamine, the insanity defense is legally compromised. But if his system only contains his newly prescribed medication, the argument for involuntary intoxication becomes central to the trial. The justice system is now tasked with navigating a difficult legal ambiguity. A jury will have to draw a definitive line, deciding where a broken brain ends and a guilty mind begins. The details of this case reveal a devastating reality. Rob and Michele Reiner committed endless resources, time, and unwavering love to their son. They spent thousands of dollars on specialized facilities and utilized complex legal conservatorships, doing exactly what families in crisis are told to do. It still was not enough to save them. Schizoaffective disorder, especially when compounded by a history of severe chemical dependency, creates an intensely volatile neurological environment. Even with strict oversight, the margin for error when adjusting brain chemistry is remarkably thin. The Reiner case demonstrates the limits of intervention when severe mental illness and chemical dependency converge. Even with immense resources and family support, a psychiatric escalation can reach a point where violence occurs before